Hello, good morning. I'm Gazama Kauta. Some people call me G Code, and lately I've been known as the Rose that grew on concrete. I've been watching what's been happening in Afghanistan, and I would like to tow a different path so we can look at it objectively. Suddenly, there has been a narrative on all the news channels regarding Afghanistan, and suddenly, even if you look at all the channels, the movie channels that are being played, either on air, you see that it's a narrative of terrorists and Taliban. So, which brings me to the question, the models of governance that we study in the entire world, be it democracy, communism, socialism, imperialism, or whatever it is that you talk about. But I would like to talk about democracy. And while we study democracy, I would like to go back to the real fathers of democracy. And which takes me back to Socrates. Socrates proposed democracy. And if you are a student of Socrates like I am, then you will know that Socrates actually proposed that there should be governance, but governance should be about the people, yes? Governance should be for the people, to the people, and by the people. But you see, if as a student of Socrates, I would like to say Socrates never documented his work because all the works he did, he never documented them because he said ideas are supposed to be fluid. Ideas are not supposed to be documented because they are conversations that are still going on. And if the conversations are going on and you write them down in a book, it means you freeze those ideas. And if I and you are having a conversation, for instance, whatever it is that you say and whatever it is that I say, it governs and shapes our ideas. But if I write it down in a book, it means it has stopped the idea. Now, it was Plato who said that. Plato was a student of Socrates. Plato said that, no, I think we should document some of these ideas so that the next generation can actually make use of it. And I would like to tilt towards the submission of Plato. Why? Let's say for instance, Isaac Newton didn't document the principles of or the theory of force, or as some people would like to call it, the theories of that says energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but can be transferred from one form to the other. Now, if he wasn't sitting under that apple tree and that apple had fallen on his head, he wouldn't have been able to bring some of the laws of motion that have guided all the affairs of man today, especially as it has to do with automobiles, as it has to do with flying our planes, powering our engines, calculating time, velocity, and the rest. Now, let's go back to Socrates. Socrates proposed that democracy should be for the people, by the people, and to the people. But he was very particular. He said that philosophers should be the ones that should be in charge of governance. Why was that so? It was because as a philosopher, you understand your environment, you understand the people. A philosopher even tends to try to even understand the emotions of even a river. He tries to understand the emotions of mountains and all. And he further argued that if democracy should be that a collection of the total majority should elect or choose their own leaders, Plato argued with him that what if the majority of the people are idiots. Now, permit my use of the language or the word idiot. Actually, that is the exact word that Plato used. He used the word idiot. What if the majority of the people are a collection of idiots? There is a likelihood that the majority will come together in the name of democracy and elect an idiot. Socrates didn't agree with that. And if you are a lover of history, I beg you to go back and read about Socrates. What happened to him? Now, in the courts in those days, a majority of idiots actually, who were not tilted towards the submission of Socrates, because he had some radical ideas a part of that of democracy. He brought up some radical ideas and people were not too comfortable with those ideas. So now a majority of those people agreed that Socrates should be killed. Now you see the irony of democracy. He proposed democracy to be that it should be majority who take the decision. But majority of the people agreed to hang Socrates. And Socrates, just like Jesus Christ, was killed. Now, these are some of the reasons why we always like to enlighten the people, because an enlightened mind is a liberated nation and a community. So, looking at what is happening in Afghanistan, are we going to say it is the government of the Ustas by the Ustas and to the Ustas? I beg to differ. You see, if you look at the history of the world, man has always fought. Man will always fight. But you see, whatever it is that he fights for, even if he fights for religion, if he fights for race, if he fights for ethnicity, if he fights for mineral resources, a fight is a fight. Man will always be busy fighting till the world comes to an end. As a student of history, I always like to encourage my contemporaries, especially the youths, to study history very well. History always repeats itself, even not with the same characters, but with the same events. If you look at all the ages, I like to categorize them into centuries. Every 100 years makes up a century. And all those centuries now, according to history, tells us that there were revolutions in all those centuries. There was the agricultural revolution in the 16th century. There was the industrial revolution in the 17th century. There was the age of enlightenment. And the age of enlightenment happens to be the one that I am most passionate about, because I love the people that were actually in that age. The likes of René Descartes, who happens to be my favorite philosopher. It was during that era that man started thinking for himself. Just like I always say in my write-ups, that he said, cogito ergo sum. In Latin, it means, I think, therefore I am. Now, keep in mind that when man started thinking, that was when he started solving the true problems of the world. Now, will you say we have retrogressed, or have we made progress as humanity? Looking at what is happening all over the world, people are still killing for trivial things. Have we made progress? That's the reason why I am trying to bring up what I would love to call this G-Code school of thought, so that we can sit down just like Socrates to share ideas. For now, we're not going to document those ideas. we're going to bring up some of these ideas that might spark up deep thinking. And he who thinks deeply has liberated his community and his environment. In the age of enlightenment, man started thinking deeply and he started thinking for himself. So instead of thinking in the box, he started thinking out of the box. And while he started thinking out of the box, he made a lot of discoveries. He conquered his environment. He made life more easy for himself. And that's when he ushered in the Industrial Revolution. But during the age of the Industrial Revolution, I'd like to implore you to study history. Industrial Revolution started in Europe, and the Europeans started looking for minerals to develop Europe. Now, was it a coincidence that that was when slavery started? Now, Africa was conquered by gunpowder. Unfortunately, today, they are conquering our minds. So I urge the youths to liberate themselves. Open up your minds. Open up your eyes. Think for yourself. Start thinking deeply. Start reading the books of history. Just like I told we have 25 students now in G-Code School of Thoughts. There's a small, what I love to call a school, just where we have a symposium. We're going to be studying all those that have made history. And I always encourage people to read the autobiographies of people because, in my own opinion, instead of waiting to make mistakes, you should learn from the mistakes of others. Because mistakes are these things that we call experiences at the end of the day. So why don't I just read about the experiences of others, which bottles down to the mistakes they made, so that we'll be able to navigate and see what they did differently. So in G-Code School of Thought, we're going to be reading about all the liberators that have liberated mankind, right from the Renaissance age till the Jet age that we are today. Now, we're going to study what they have in common. We're going to study, even though they had different events at different times, but those events are similar to ours. So we're going to study how they liberated themselves and how we can apply them in our contemporary society today. So, Afghanistan, yes, they are fighting. Of course, 100 years from now, it's going to be part of history. Even if it's a sad point in our history, it's still history. How about you? I pose a question to you. How are you going to drop your own footprints on the sands of time? So I implore you, you can follow me on my YouTube channel. It's G-Code Mark Outer, or you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook as G-Code Mark Outer. Just send me a DM. We'll take it up from there. I have a lot of books that I'm willing to share. Let's share all these books. Let's share our knowledge. Let's share thoughts. I'd like to leave you with my favorite quote. It says, if you want to plan for a year, plant maize. If you want to plan for 10 years, plant a tree. If you want to plan for 100 years, educate the people, enlighten the people. Have a great day. Bye.